21 spine-chilling Walmart nightmares. Terrifying secrets revealed that should have stayed hidden. Jess gripped the shopping cart as she navigated the darkened aisles of Walmart. The fluorescent lights flickered menacingly, casting sinister shadows that danced across the shelves. Each rustle of wrappers and shuffling of stock felt alive, whispering secrets she didn't want to hear. Faint echoes of laughter and the mundane clinking of carts had faded into an unsettling silence, leaving her alone with her nerves. As she rounded the corner of aisle 6, a shadow darted past her periphery. She spun around, breathless. Nothing. Just the monotonous hum of the air conditioning and the bizarre sensation of being watched. The haunting thought slipped through her mind: was she truly alone in this vast, empty store? The other employees, once friendly faces, had grown increasingly strange. Their laughter now felt forced, their eyes dulled by secrets too heavy to carry. The customers, who once filled her with warm familiarity, wore masks of paranoia. Jess's heart raced as she recalled the concerned father from last night, frantic, eyes wide and darting, searching for his missing daughter in desperate pleas that echoed through the gallery of aisles. The last handful of shifts had been strange. Items began to appear: crumpled notes, wedged between cereal boxes, bizarre symbols etched into plastic toys. She caught sight of a sign in the toy aisle that made her skin crawl. "Help US!" What kind of sick joke was this? She shuddered, somewhat dismissing the idea as a prank, but each night only ratcheted up the dread. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Night after night, dread built around her like a thick fog. The CCTV cameras where she worked shut down inexplicably, making Jess feel unprotected, exposed. Even her closest confidant at work grew distant, shutting down any talk of the odd happenings. Was it just her imagination, or were ordinary shoppers morphing into dark figures lurking with ill intent? The tension in the air swelled like a dark cloud, throbbing with restless energy. She felt eyes on her, prickling at the nape of her neck, as she fumbled through the endless stock beneath the unforgiving fluorescent glare. And it was that night, in the main aisle, with vendors' empty cans strewn around her like broken dreams, that she felt a presence lurking just out of sight, stifling her breath and tightening her chest. With a sudden chill creeping down her spine, she grasped a nearby shelf, steadying herself. Children's toys lay scattered below, their bright colors flickering in the sickly light. The thoughts sent fireworks of anguish through her mind, each moment slipping into panic. The store loomed over her like a predator, and the chilling realization gnawed at her: what if the true monster lay within her own community? As the wall of darkness pressed in, Jess understood she was no longer navigating aisles but stepping into the heart of a nightmare. The whispered secrets, the looks exchanged behind plastered smiles, it wasn't just fear, it was a warning. And she stood teetering on the edge, unknowing of how any remaining shreds of safety could shatter like glass any moment now. Would she uncover the horrifying truth about her seemingly peaceful town before it was too late? She stumbled back, her breath hitching in her throat. The fluorescent lights dimmed further, shadows swallowing the aisles into darkness. The echoes of her footsteps bounced off the walls like a heartbeat in the silence, quickening her pulse. She moved deeper into the store, where the light grew feeble, the air thick with a musty odor that clung to her skin. The toy aisle, the one where she'd seen the help sign, seemed miles away, yet she felt drawn to it, as if its pull was magnetized by fear. The hairs on her arms stood tall as she approached, her heart pounding like a warning drum. What would she find? Nothing should be out of place in the toy aisle, but what lay beneath those plastic smiles and colorful packages? Jess caught sight of something out of the corner of her eye, a flicker of movement. She spun again, but there was only stillness, a mocking quiet that amplified the fear surging within her. What if she wasn't just being watched? What if someone or something was waiting, lurking in the shadows? The mere thought sent a chill racing down her spine. She stepped forward, the tiles cool beneath her feet. No one was here. Just the rustling of boxes and an unsettling feeling she couldn't shake. Discarded wrappers crunched beneath her sneakers like shattered bones. Every small sound amplified her anxiety, drumming a steady rhythm that felt all too sinister. As she neared the toy aisle, the fluorescent lights above flickered again, the buzzing a harsh reminder of the deadening silence. She peered down the aisle, each step slow, deliberate. The shelves loomed like towering sentinels, each row packed with toys that now felt like watching eyes, unblinking and cold. Suddenly she froze. There it was again, a whisper, barely above a breath. "Help us!" It slipped through the air, filling the void like an acid in her stomach. The voice felt familiar yet distant, twisting her insides with dread. She felt a compulsion to move towards the source. Her legs didn't listen, paralyzed by an unseen force, as if the aisle itself had coiled around her. "Who's there?" she choked out, her voice barely a whisper against the looming shadows. Silence. For a moment, it felt as if the entire store held its breath. Jess's mind raced. Was it just a figment of her imagination? Was she truly losing grasp of reality, made mad by the paranoia creeping in with every flickering bulb? Then she spotted a small figure at the end of the aisle. It stood still, obscured by the shadows. A child? Her heart leapt between hope and terror. She took a cautious step forward, summoning every ounce of courage. As she neared, the child's features emerged from the dark. A girl, her clothes tattered and dirty, eyes wide and glassy, glistening with terror. "Help, please," the girl's voice cracked, and Jess felt her heart twist. But then, something behind the girl moved. A shape loomed just outside the reach of the feeble light, anger curling in its massive form. Jess's instincts screamed at her to turn and run, but her feet felt rooted in place, terror splintering through her. "What was that thing? What do you want?" Jess gasped, fear pooling in her gut, flooding her thoughts. The girl pointed, her gesture shaky and desperate. "You shouldn't be here." The warning echoed in Jess's mind as the shape stepped out from the shadows. Her instincts took over, now, adrenaline surging as she turned to flee down the aisle. The sound of footsteps chasing after her sent a fresh wave of panic crashing over her. What had she stumbled into? Jess's thoughts raced as she sprinted away from the grip of darkness, her heart pounding like a drum of impending doom. Had she merely uncovered the surface of the terror lurking within Walmart? Was she fated to join the ranks of the lost? In the chaos, she barely saw the glint of red glimmer as she escaped, but she felt it, the promise of something more horrifying waiting in the dark. What else was hidden in the folds of the night? What had the community buried beneath layers of complacency? Her breath quickened as another thought flashed through her mind: who else had vanished into the darkness? The chase was on, and Jess was trapped in a nightmare that was just beginning. Little did she know, the secrets that were waiting for her might be the least of her worries. Jess's feet pounded against the tile, each step punctuated by the sound of her heart racing in her chest. The footsteps behind her were unrelenting, a menacing echo that grew closer. She could feel it, whatever monster lurked in the shadows, ready to swallow her whole. Turning sharply, she darted into the snack aisle, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The fluorescent lights flickered, and she quickly pressed herself against the shelf, hiding behind boxes of cereal and sugary candy. Her eyes darted down the aisle, straining to catch a glimpse of her pursuer. Silence snaked around her like a noose, slowly tightening as she forced herself to breathe quiet. Maybe it had lost her. Maybe she could find a way out of this hellish place. But deep down, she felt it, a gnawing presence, the weight of something watching. A soft thud broke the stillness, and Jess's stomach twisted. She risked a peek around the edge of the shelf. The aisle was empty, or so it seemed. The against all odds hope settled like ice in her veins. Could she really be alone? But then something caught her attention, more movement further down, closer to the toy aisle again. With her heart in her throat, she squinted. Shapes shuffled through the darkness. They were too unclear, too distant to comprehend. She could see the flickering light reflecting off something metallic. Panic seized her. Were they other people? Could they help her? Or were they part of whatever horror awaited here? Without thinking, she pulled herself back and darted down another aisle, her instincts guiding her. So many choices, so many traps, all filled with the sinister secrets of the store. Help us! The girl's voice echoed again in her mind, and Jess's thoughts spiraled. Who had she been? Why was her plea still whispering through her thoughts? She couldn't shake it, couldn't shake the warning or the haunting feeling that she was already too late. Rounding a corner, Jess slammed into something solid, and her heart lurched as she stumbled back. The shelves swayed and creaked, but before she could regain her footing, a hand shot out. Strong and cold, it grabbed her wrist, the fingers squeezing with a vice-like grip. She gasped, looking up into the eyes of an old man, a gaunt figure with hollow cheeks and sunken eyes. His lips curled into an unsettling smile. She got you too, didn't she? He rasped, his breath stale and pungent. What? Jess stammered, fear flooding her system. What do you mean? He leaned closer, and she could see how urgent his eyes were, a warning mixed with despair. The girl, she brings you here. You're never alone, but you wish you were. Jess tried to pull away, panic seeping into her bones. Let me go! I have to get out. No one gets out, he snapped, his voice suddenly sharp. Not once the shadows claim you. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the store, and both their heads snapped towards the source. The toy aisle, the previous flicker of shadows, was now a cascade of colorful toys spilling across the floor like spilled entrails. Run! The man shouted, shoving her away. She'll find you. You have to hurry. Without thinking, Jess started back into the labyrinth of aisles, her breaths turning into desperate gasps. The store felt alive, every sound amplifying her dread. She could sense the shadows crawling, inching closer, their whispers now a cacophony in her ears. What if she couldn't find her way out? What if the girl was just a ghost of the lost but a harbinger of her fate? Seconds felt like hours as she fought against an unseen force dragging her back. In that moment, the walls began to pulse, and the store shifted around her. She was right back where she started, the toy aisle, the heart of darkness. As she stumbled forward, a child's laughter echoed through the air. It twisted Jess's gut. We're waiting, always waiting. A chill crept down her spine, and Jess knew this was far from over. What had this place become, and what sinister plans did it have for her? Desperation clawed at her. She needed answers, and maybe a bit of luck. Because in a world ruled by shadows, even the light can't be trusted. But where could one find safety within a nightmare that never ends? Jess's heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the ghostly laughter that wrapped around her like a shroud. There was no escaping it, it taunted her. She stood frozen in place, her breath shallow and quick as the shadows twisted and lurked. With a violent shake of her head, she forced herself to move, instinctively navigating her way past crumbling displays and forgotten merchandise. Each aisle loomed like a graveyard, each corner hiding horrors she couldn't even begin to imagine. Think, Jess. Think! She hissed under her breath, trying to banish the fear clawing at her throat. The old man's warning echoed in her mind. No one gets out. The walls felt like they were closing in, stifling her desperation like a thick fog. Then it hit her, a brief flicker of memory that made her stomach churn. The girl from the whispers, she'd seen her once. A pale, ethereal visage with empty eyes that dared Jess to approach. She'd disappeared behind the same aisle that now felt charged with dark energy. I have to find her, Jess muttered, setting her jaw. Her voice trembled, but resolve hardened within her. She turned and sprinted to the toy aisle, knowing she was racing against time and something much darker. The moment she reached the aisle, the laughter intensified, echoing off the shelves. Toys lay scattered like bones, and something shifted in the far shadows where the lights flickered. A shape darted between the racks, too quick to be seen, but she felt its impact. It was hunting her. Come out! Jess shouted, her voice ringing against the stillness. She took a deep breath and stepped into the aisle where it felt most suffocating, the air thick with unseen eyes. I'm not afraid of you. But Jess was terrified, and she knew it. The laughter faded into soft sobs, and as it grew dimmer, so did her hope. She turned in circles, desperation gripping her heart. Then, she caught sight of a flicker beyond a broken display of dolls, their faces cracked and twisted, as if grinning at her own helplessness. Suddenly, a tiny hand reached around the corner. It was small and delicate, fingers smeared with something dark, staining the pale skin. With it came the faint scent of sulfur and rot. Heart racing, Jess felt drawn to it, despite every caution ringing in her mind. "Jess, help," the voice pleaded, barely a whisper. The hand retreated, and Jess couldn't bear it. She charged forward, her feet pounding against the cold tile, yelling, "Wait! I'm coming!" Just as she reached the corner and prepared to grab the tiny hand, a loud crash echoed from behind her. Startled, she spun around, and her breath caught in her throat. Shadows congealed and morphed, swirling together like a living mass behind her, blocking her escape. "No more games!" A chilling voice hissed, and Jess froze, a paralyzing fear gripping her limbs. The shadows advanced. She couldn't tell where they ended and the physical world began. "Please! I need to get out!" she cried, feeling sanity slip through her fingers. "Out?" the voice mocked, now echoing from all directions. "You're never getting out, Jess. You're part of the collection now." Lightning-fast instincts kicked in, and Jess turned to sprint away, her path blocked by toys that now stood, legs crooked and spikes protruding. She had entered a realm where nightmarish childhood memories twisted into dark horrors. This wasn't simply a store. It was a prison, alive with the spirits of those who vanished, all beckoning her into their web of despair. In that moment of clarity, Jess understood. There was no choice but to face whatever was coming. She had to confront the girl behind the shadow, the one who lured so many to this fate. But as she dove deeper into the twisting aisles, a chilling thought crept into her mind. Did she even want to discover the truth? The walls pulsed with an eagerness she could no longer ignore, and dread seeped into her veins. All around her, the whispers and laughter resumed, becoming a cacophony of dread as she pushed forward into the darkness. Maybe the girl was leading her, promising something horrific yet intoxicating. What could truly be waiting in the depths of this cursed place? With a shuddering breath, Jess turned another corner, knowing she was getting closer to the climax of her haunting fate, and she could feel the girl's presence growing, a pulse vibrating in the very air itself. What would happen when she finally met the source of all her fears? A question burned in her mind, one that echoed in the darkness. Was she ready to learn the secrets that lurked within the shadows? Jess plunged deeper into the aisles, her senses heightened. Shadows skittered along the walls, teasing her with their presence, but she kept pushing forward. The air thickened, pressing against her chest. Every step felt heavy with dread, pushing her closer to the girl. "Jess!" The voice echoed again, more insistent, and this time it felt closer, almost right beside her. She rounded a corner, the fluorescent lights flickering ominously as the laughter morphed into a wailing chorus of children lost, forgotten. The dolls stood eerily still, their eyes wide and hollow, glistening with something dark. She shook her head in disbelief. It was as if they were alive, watching her every move. "Help me!" the plea cut through the cacophony like a razor. Jess felt a chill race down her spine. "Wait! Where are you?" she called. The small hand reappeared, beckoning from behind a shelf stacked with action figures that seemed to twist and writhe in the dim light. Jess felt her heart quicken. Was she mad for even considering following the voice? But the desperation clawing at her was stronger. "I'm coming!" she gasped, lunging at the figures, her fingers brushing against their plastic skin. In that instant, the atmosphere shifted. The somber sobs transformed into shrill, manic laughter that echoed through the confines of the store. A sinister glee infused the air, making her skin crawl. "No! No! No!" Jess yelled, her voice blending into the chaos around her. The hand slipped away again, and a wave of panic surged through her. She darted past oversized stuffed animals, their sinister grins wide like the predatory grins of ancient creatures lying in wait. As she wove through the distorted aisles, Jess could almost hear the whispers turning into a chaotic symphony, a symphony of those who had come before her, lured into this nightmare. What had happened to them? Help me, Jess. The voice held a plea that was hard to resist, but a part of her screamed that this was a trap, an invitation to join the twisted fraternity of lost souls. With trembling palms, she pressed deeper into the darkness, every corner a potential death sentence. The shadows stretched further and further, weaving around her like a serpent ready to strike. Each flicker of light seemed to reveal something new, toys that transformed into grotesque figures, their features melting into something monstrous. It was like descending into hell stage by stage. Then, suddenly, everything fell silent, deadly quiet. The laughter ceased, the shadows halted, and for one brief moment she felt as if she had walked into a different realm. Breathing heavily, Jess glanced around, desperately seeking any sign of movement. Where had the girl gone? Her instincts screamed for her to retreat, but dread held her like an anchor, refusing to let her turn back. It was in that silence, pregnant with tension, that she felt a cold breath against her neck, the unmistakable presence of something or someone. "Why did you leave?" the voice whispered, venomous and sweet like poison dripping from a blade. The cold prickle hacked at her resolve, filling her with an icy dread that gripped her heart. A figure stepped into the dim light, small, pale, and grinning widely with eyes that held nothing but void. Jess stumbled back, but she was caught in the snare of her own fear. "Will you play with us forever, Jess?" the girl purred, taking a step closer, her eyes glinting with malicious joy. "You can't escape, no one escapes." Jess's breath quickened. Every instinct urged her to flee, but the hypnotic call of the girl pulled her in. "What do you want from me? Just let go, join us." The shadows stirred again, closing in. Jess felt herself surrounded, her back against the wall of dark, creeping limbs. With heart racing, she screamed, "No!" But the laughter resumed, now a chorus surrounding her, echoing, suffocating. And then, the world tilted. Jess felt herself being pulled deeper into the murky depths of horror, her pulse thrumming in her ears like a war drum. Would she fall into their embrace, lost like so many before her? Ready to play? The girl grinned wider as darkness enveloped her, pulling Jess further into the nightmare. But what if there was a way out? A flicker of hope ignited within her, battling against despair. As the shadows grasped for her, Jess reached for the remnants of her courage, ready to fight back because there had to be a way to shatter this illusion. What would it take to escape this collection of lost souls? Jess felt the edge of the darkness creeping closer, threatening to swallow her whole. And then, just as swiftly, her vision blurred. The laughter choked, and she recognized something, a fleeting glimpse of light ahead. Was it freedom or another trap? The darkness swirled violently around Jess, each shadow trying to pull her in deeper. Panic surged through her veins, propelling her toward the flickering light. It glimmered like a beacon, whispering promises of safety. Yet doubt gnawed at her. Could it be another playing card in this macabre game? "Jess!" The girl's voice rang out again, echoing as if the aisles themselves were mocking her desperation. Every second she hesitated felt like an eternity, and the weight of the shadows pressed heavier around her. With a burst of resolve, Jess bolted toward the light. Her heart hammering, she navigated through a maze of grotesque figures, their faces contorted as if anticipating her downfall. Her frantic breaths filled the silence, a reminder that she was still alive. The chill of dread settled in her gut when she glanced back. The girl was no longer grinning. Instead, a cold fury etched her features, and her body trembled with a dark energy that was almost palpable. "You can't leave!" she shrieked, her voice echoing ominously off the walls. "No!" Jess pushed herself forward, her mind racing. Thoughts of escape surged but faded as the laughter returned, swirling around her like a sinister wind, each giggle a reminder of the lost children of what awaited them. Suddenly she spotted movement at the end of the aisle. It wasn't a figment of her imagination. A rogue shopping cart stood abandoned, its wheels spinning slowly as if someone had just abandoned it. Ahead, a red exit sign pulsed in the dimness. She dashed toward it, praying to whatever God was listening that it wasn't just another illusion. But just as she reached for the door, the ground beneath her groaned, splitting open like a dark mouth ready to consume her. "No!" she screamed as she stumbled backward, landing hard on the floor. Shadows crawled toward her, slick and thick, stretching like twisted hands reaching for a feast. A mad cacophony of voices erupted from the walls, some shrieking, others pleading, all just noise that clouded her thoughts. In that moment of chaos, Jess locked eyes with the girl again. Her expression had morphed from rage to a twisted smile of triumph. "You can't keep running, Jess. You're part of the collection now." Bow rose in Jess's throat. The realization hit harder than any blow. She wouldn't just vanish, she'd become one of them. A doll bearing a painted smile, eternally trapped in the aisles of her own horror story. Feeling the shadows start to consume her, Jess fought fiercely. "I want to be another lost soul," she shouted, the fire of defiance igniting within her. She swung her arms, striking the encroaching darkness, her fists meeting only air, but the scream that tore from her throat felt liberating. She pushed herself up and stumbled toward the cart, which offered a strange comfort. It stood there at an impossible angle, as if awaiting her grasp. Jess gripped the handle, feeling a sudden rush of energy course through her. Maybe the cart was a lifeline, a piece of her reality still tethered in this waking nightmare. Behind her, the girl let out a furious shriek that sliced through the air. "You're mine, Jess. You can't escape." Just as Jess began to move, the ground rumbled again, sending shudders through the store, and something in the dim light shifted. A doorway appeared in the back of the aisle, one not marked on any map, an escape route or perhaps a new trap. It pulsed with a familiar, beckoning glow, radiant against the encroaching darkness. Was it a possible way out, or simply a new place for her torment? Heart pounding, Jess faced the choice that could seal her fate. Would she dive into the light and risk falling deeper into the abyss, or face the girl, the shadows, and whatever creatures lurked just beyond? With a deep breath, she closed her eyes for one fleeting moment. Then, in pure desperation, she lunged toward the light, securing her hope in the unknown. What awaited her on the other side? The light enveloped Jess like a warm fog, a stark contrast to the clutches of darkness she had just escaped. She felt her body lift, as if gravity had suddenly relinquished its grip. Weightlessness gave her a fleeting moment of joy, but it was quickly replaced by dread as she tumbled through an endless void. With a jarring thud, she landed on cold, hard concrete. Jess opened her eyes to find herself in an empty stockroom, fluorescent lights buzzing above. Cardboard boxes loomed like tombstones, their labels faded and peeling. This place felt wrong, an afterthought in a world turned upside down. "Jess!" Whispery echoes rustled through her mind. For a moment, she thought it was just her imagination, spinning tales to make sense of the madness. But then she saw it. A reflection shimmered against the glossy tile of the girl, her eyes burning with an eerie glow, emerging from the shadows. "You thought you could escape?" Her voice dripped with malice, louder now, as if the darkness had grown an ear to listen. Panic clawed at Jess. Where was she? She leapt to her feet, racing for the dingy exit at the far side of the room. Just as her heart surged with hope, the walls warped and twisted, folding in on themselves. The room shifted like a living organism, molding to the whims of its dark master. "Run all you like, but you're not going anywhere," the girl screeched, her laughter echoing, jagged and sharp. Shadows slithered eagerly at her command, traversing along the walls, undulating like a nightmarish tide. Jess stumbled, her breath quickening, desperation grasping at her throat. She turned, half expecting to meet the girl's gaze, to face that fury head-on. Instead, she found herself surrounded by countless figures, others lost, eyes dulled, their faces mere masks of despair. They stood as silent witnesses to her struggle, trapped in their moments of horror. A surge of adrenaline propelled her forward. "Stay away!" Jess shouted, aiming for the exit. Did they even hear her? Did they care? She didn't want to find out. Each step sent waves of dread seeping into her consciousness, every second echoing with the weight of their silent screams. As she barreled toward the door, she felt a sharp tug at her shirt, pulling her back. "Don't go!" a voice chimed, fragile and disembodied. It was a plea, but it felt more like warning. Jess twisted around and saw a boy, a mere apparition of what he once was. His eyes mirrored her own terror. "Join us," he whispered, an unsettling seduction lacing his words. "It's better here." "Better?" Jess spat, unwilling to be lured into their deadened existence. She yanked herself free and dashed for the doorway, slamming her shoulder against the cold metal. It swung open, revealing an endless corridor. Each fluorescent bulb hummed ominously as if something watched from beyond. Jess stepped into the passage, but the thrill of escape quickly faded. Forward seemed just as foreboding as what lay behind. Suddenly, the floor bucked. Jess tumbled forward, landing hard. Ahead, shadows slithered back into the opening of the stockroom, morphing into something monstrous. The girl's laughter resurfaced, a cacophony of malice spiraling through the air. "You can't outrun your fate!" she screamed, and then echoed away, leaving an unsettling silence that felt heavy like a stone. Breathless, Jess pushed herself up, the cloying scent of despair thick in her throat. This corridor felt like a labyrinth, not just of the physical sort, but of thoughts, fears, choices swirling around. Where should she go? Back was certain doom, but ahead promised the unknown. In the depths of her mind, an insidious whisper urged her to stop running, to surrender. But what awaited her if she did? The shadows inched closer, and Jess knew she had to decide, or remain captive in this waking nightmare forever. Jess's heart pounded. She peered down the corridor, its fluorescent lights flickering like dying stars. The shadows danced around her, teasing and taunting with a snicker. She felt them pulsing, breathing, alive. Each flicker of light cast monstrous shapes, warping her perception of reality. She took a deep breath and forced herself to move forward. Each step felt sticky, as if the concrete tried to pull her back into its lethargic grasp. Panic twisted in her gut. Behind her lurked the ever-looming threat of that girl, the embodiment of darkness that called this place home. The boy's voice echoed in her mind, "It's better here," but nothing could convince her that this was anywhere close to better. Jess ran, her sneakers squeaking against the floor. She didn't know what would happen if she stopped, but she feared the answer deeply. The corridor stretched on, seemingly infinite. Desperation fueled her as she darted past doorways, peering into the ominous darkness beyond. Some doors were sealed tight, but others lay ajar, revealing glimpses of nightmarish scenes played out in distorted reality: a family frozen in a scream, a woman weeping over a crumpled figure. She rounded a corner and skidded to a halt. Ahead, the corridor ended in a massive steel door, seemingly unmarked but radiating an ominous aura. It looked sturdy, maybe even reassuring, but in this place, who knew if it would lead to freedom or further torment? Behind her, shadows coalesced, whispering her name in a chilling symphony. "Jess! Jess!" they called, and dread crawled up her spine. Her breath quickened. She couldn't turn back now. A burst of instinct pushed her forward. She sprinted toward the door, readying herself to slam against it. With a jarring thud, she collided against the metal surface. It didn't budge. Jess stumbled back, her heart racing, vision blurring. The shadows swirled closer. She could feel them tugging at her from all sides, like icy fingers creeping over her skin. "No!" she screamed, pounding her fists against the cold steel. "Let me out! Join us!" A chorus of voices floated through the crack beneath the door, twisted and grotesque. "You'll never be alone. You'll be one of us." "No!" Jess cried, shaking her head hard, desperation flooding her veins. Suddenly, a distant sound collided with her panic. A small, muffled thud echoed from the other side of the door. The noise pulled at her attention, a part of her wanting to hope. Was someone else trapped in there? Was it a way out, or another trap? She pressed her ear against the door, hearing faint, agonized whispers trickling through the metal. "Help us, please!" they were pleading. Her heart sank with empathy, but dread quickly replaced it. What if they were more like the boys she'd encountered? What if she stepped through that doorway only to lose herself completely? The air grew dense, the shadows pulsating, eager bloodhounds sniffing at her fear. A sudden urge to flee gripped her. Yet the muffled sounds behind the door tugged at her conscience. Jess stepped back, surveying both ends of the corridor. There was nowhere left to run, and she needed to make a choice. What awaited her on the other side? Would it be salvation or further descent into despair? She hesitated, torn by paths fraught with peril. In this fractured reality, was there even a way to survive? With shadows looming in, ready to pull her into their depths, she realized time was running out. Up ahead, a flicker caught her eye, a faint light seeping through a crack in the wall, warm and inviting compared to the creeping chill around her. Was it a mirage or a true path to escape? With renewed determination and a stomach twisted in knots, she took a step toward the source, hoping against hope she wasn't leading herself to final doom. As Jess approached the flickering light, her senses heightened. Each step felt heavy, like walking through worn, thick fog. She could almost feel the presence of the shadows behind her waiting, hungry. It was as if they knew she was torn between the two choices, ready to strike when she hesitated. The light flickered again, its warmth a teasing whisper against the cold despair pressing in around her. She reached out, fingers brushing the cool edges of the wall. The tiny crack seemed to pulse with life, beckoning her closer. It glowed brighter with each second, promising something. What? Safety? A way out? Or another twisted trap? Swallowing hard, she pressed her face against the wall, searching for the source. Just as she turned her ear closer, the light dimmed, and for a brief moment, every sound in the corridor fell silent. Not even the whispers followed. An eerie stillness enveloped her, draping over her like a shroud. Don't leave us, the voices returned, wrapping around her like a noose. It wasn't just behind the door anymore. They echoed from all directions, the laughter rising to a cacophony until it drowned out her heartbeat. Jess! Help! The muffled cries intensified, tinged with panic. She fought the dread building within her, closing her eyes for a moment. What if she became a wretched voice trying to escape this nightmare? What if, by helping, she only added to their suffering? Could she really step into that glowing crack and find the light, or was it simply the next layer of darkness waiting to consume her? Resolute, she turned her back on the door, abandoning whatever hope may lie behind it for the flickering light. As she moved forward, she felt a deep sense of conviction wash over her, a primal impulse ignited by something distant, yet familiar. She didn't know what lay ahead, but standing still felt more dangerous than taking a step into the unknown. With fervent desperation, Jess pressed onward, stepping into the warmth of the glowing crack. As her foot crossed the threshold, a flood of heat engulfed her, a stark contrast to the coldness of the corridor. Light exploded around her, bright and suffocating. She felt as if she were tumbling through space. It brightened momentarily, a radiant, all-encompassing glare before plunging her back into darkness. The warmth vanished. She landed hard on the cold, hard floor and let out a choked gasp. Wincing, she looked around. The darkness wrapped around her, but this time, there was nothing breathing back. Silence hung thick in the air, mingled with a tense anticipation. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice shaky, breaking the oppressive quiet. It felt surreal, as if reality had twisted into something she could hardly comprehend. The steel door she'd just fled stood ominously behind her, now an impenetrable wall. Then, a low rumbling echoed through the abyss, sending chills up her spine. It resonated like a growl, like something waking from a profound slumber. Fear gnawed at her as she scrambled to her feet, heart racing. What had she walked into? A new realm of nightmares? The air crackled, heavy with tension. The very shadows seemed to whisper from beyond, as if promising a reckoning. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the far end of the darkness, moving slowly, shambling closer. Jess squinted, adrenaline coursing through her veins, terror pinching her in a vice grip. She instinctively took a step back, pulse hammering in her ears. Was it friend or foe? Whatever it was coming for her fast. The question blazed in her mind. In this place of horror, how could she tell the difference? Jess stumbled backward, the weight of despair pressing down on her. The figure moved closer, its features shrouded in shadows, but she could make out its small frame and gaunt appearance. Just like the girl. Desperation gripped her heart as she braced herself, leaning against the cold wall behind her. "Who are you?" she said, her voice shaking. The closer it came, Jess could see the fear in its eyes, the hollow gaze that mirrored her own. "Please help us." The voice was frail, echoing a haunting melody of countless other lost souls. Her heart cracked, and she felt the chill of uncertainty radiate through her. "I can't help you. You don't understand, I have to escape." The figure hesitated, a dark aura swirling around it. "You won't escape. They won't let you." It whispered, but its tone shifted into something soft, almost pleading. "We need to show you what happens to those who don't." "Who?" Jess gasped, desperate to understand. "Who won't let me escape? They are what lurks in the shadows." The boy's voice trembled in the empty space, and Jess felt the stir of dread crawl back into her bones. "Your friend, the girl, she led you here. She's one of them now." "No!" Jess could hardly believe it. "She was just a child." "Was she?" The boy took a step closer, and Jess struggled to maintain her ground as shadows flared behind him. "No child would do what she does for fun." Fear raced through her veins. Jess remembered the girl's smile, twisted with darkness. "What do you want from me?" To her surprise, the boy reached out, extending a hand towards her, trembling. "To show you the truth, Jess. Of what's behind the shadows, of what awaits those who linger." Her instincts pushed her to bolt, but her heart ached for answers. "Why would I trust you?" "Because I'm just like you." His voice cracked, layered with sorrow and loss. "I once believed there was a way out, too. Until it devoured me." Before she could react, shaky lights flickered above them, illuminating the boy's hollow face, a reflection of lost childhood, forever trapped in this dark reality. A memory flared to his laugh, his smile once vibrant, now dulled into something unrecognizable. This was what the shadows did. "Come with me," he whispered, glancing around nervously. "We can find a way to break the spell together. But you must be willing to face the truth." Her stomach twisted. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but the curiosity was stronger. Was there really a chance for redemption, for escape? With bated breath, Jess stepped closer to him. "Can you help me to confront her? The girl?" "Yes," the boy nodded slowly, "but you must know. It might change everything you thought you knew." In that moment, Jess felt a flicker of determination. If there was a shred of hope, it was worth clinging to. "Then let us go together." They ventured deeper into the layer of darkness, each step a battle against the shadows thrumming around them. The presence of fear thrummed in the air, but so did something else, a glimmering flicker of justice. "Do you know where she is?" Jess whispered, her heart racing at the thought of facing the girl again. "Yes." The boy nodded, leading her through the curling shadows. "We just have to find her before." "Before what?" Jess hardly dared to think about it as crimson tendrils danced and writhed within the darkness, whispering promises of despair. As they reached the end of the corridor, a door appeared, beaten down and rusty, but strangely familiar. An urgency washed over Jess. She knew the girl was behind it. "Hold on tight. Whatever happens, don't let go," the boy shouted, and Jess gripped his hand as they pushed open the door together. Light flooded their vision, then darkness fell again. A swirling mist enveloped them, filled with shadows and echoing laughter. But Jess felt a present flame ignite within her. She understood now it wasn't just about escaping. It was about confronting the shadows that had seeped into their lives, recognizing the monsters they'd become. The girl stood at the far end, grinning, with a twisted vibrancy. "You think you're strong enough?" she taunted, stepping closer. "You don't understand the game you're playing." With a surge of courage, Jess stood firmly, ready to fight. "I want to be another lost soul. I want to give into the darkness." The girl's expression darkened, rage swirling within her eyes. "You'll regret this." A rush of warmth wrapped around Jess and the boy, sparking against the dark energy flooding the room. We can take back what belongs to us. Jess shouted, clenching her fists as strength surged through her. We can break the cycle. The shadows retreated, shrieking in agony as the light engulfed them. Jess felt the power of unity, of confronting the darkness head-on. Do it! The boy cried, and together they pushed forward, forging a path through the malevolent shadows. Let us go! Jess shouted, the walls vibrating with her determination. With one final push, a blinding flash erupted, the shadows dissipating into wisps of smoke. They stumbled into a blinding light, emerging back into the stockroom of Walmart. Jess gasped for breath, alive and free. Did we do it? She whispered, facing the boy, who looked both relieved and incredulous. Yes. And the others? He murmured, glancing around expectantly. They can be free too. Jess nodded, feeling the resolve blossom within her. If they had reclaimed their lives, then so could everyone else caught in the monster's grasp. Together they stepped forward, ready to guide lost souls into the light, knowing that courage could shatter chains and bring hope back to their town. As they began to search for those still trapped, Jess whispered softly, "This is just the beginning." Together, they would dismantle the shadows one fear at a time. They would reclaim their lives, their choices, and their freedom. You need to subscribe now to stay in the loop with stories that dive deep into the heart of fear and suspense. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep this channel thriving. Flood the comments section below with all your reactions and theories about Jess's journey. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who are ready to face their own nightmarish adventures.